what I had avoided seeing all my life.
Which was?
Boy, that's...
You ain't getting any sleep. I ain't getting any sleep. We gotta get to work in the morning.
I got 100 calls to make tonight.
Is that going on our phone bill?
You can take it out of my paycheck, right?
Man, milk is sour.
I didn't have a chance to get to the market.
Sally Field has had the kind of career most actors only dream about.
Yeah, honey. It's me. Happy birthday.
Daniel! Oh my God!
Sally Field's story doesn't really begin with the fame, the awards, or the red carpets. It starts in Pasadena, where her childhood was shaped by pain she didn't choose. Born in 1946 to actress Margaret Field, a Hollywood stuntwoman, and an Army veteran father who wasn't around, Sally's home life changed when her mom remarried actor Jock Mahoney. To the outside world, he was a charming Tarzan figure, but behind closed doors, he was controlling, sometimes violent, and far worse.
But the story you tell, on one level, it is your career, because that threads your life. But you do, as you say, share these stories, being abused as a child, difficult relationships, your insecurities.
It was so little that it was almost like having a dance floor, and it's this huge big back. And then that grew. Sal, come walk on my back. And so I did.
And not just his back.
In her 2018 memoir, In Pieces, Sally revealed that Mahoney hurt her from the time she was 7 until her early teens. She describes carrying that secret for decades, a weight that shaped how she saw herself and the world around her. What made it harder was her relationship with her mother. Margaret, while glamorous and ambitious, often felt distant to Sally, as if her career and personal struggles kept her from seeing what her daughter was going through. It's a painful part of Sally's life, one that explains a lot about the resilience and depth she later brought to her roles. Behind the success, she was learning to survive and rebuild from experiences most people never knew she had. By her teens, the struggles in Sally Field's life had already taken a heavy toll. At 17, she became pregnant by her high school boyfriend and went through a difficult and frightening abortion in Mexico, an experience she later described as deeply isolating. Acting soon became the place where she poured all of that energy and emotion she didn't know what to do with. She joined classes at the Actors Studio, using performance as a kind of outlet. Hollywood noticed quickly. At just 18, she was cast in Gidget, the Sunny Surf sitcom that turned her into America's sweetheart. Viewers loved her, but Sally herself felt boxed in. She later said the role, while fun at first, felt like being trapped in a snow globe. Things got tougher with The Flying Nun, a quirky show about a nun who could literally fly. It became a hit, but for Sally, it was frustrating. She often felt dismissed on set and longed for more serious work. During this time, she also married her high school boyfriend, Steve Craig, and had 2 children before the marriage ended when she was 25. It was a whirlwind, balancing motherhood with a career that didn't yet let her show what she was really capable of. Those early years weren't glamorous. They were about getting by. Sally even let go of her first agent after he dismissed her as not pretty enough for film work. She kept herself afloat with television roles, all while quietly dealing with self-doubt and eating disorders. To most people, she looked like the cheerful young star everyone recognized from TV, but inside, she was still trying to make sense of the pain she carried with her. As the 1970s began, Sally was determined to be taken seriously. She wanted more than lighthearted sitcoms. She wanted work that would let her prove herself. That journey wasn't just about acting, It was about piecing herself back together after years of hurt. Step by step, she did, though the weight of what she'd been through never completely disappeared.
Sally Field, it is
Yes.
your first time in the clubhouse,
It
and
is, it
I am afraid it's about to become your worst time in the clubhouse.
Uh-oh, what's
Here's
happening?
what, like all the
I
other
better drink
legends who have
something.
agreed to come on
Yeah.
the show
Uh-huh.
for some silly reason, Sally Field, it is time for you to plead the fifth.
All right.
Here we go. I have 3 questions. You may plead the fifth to
Yes.
only one. Killer victory for you?
Not really, but
Well.
I'll just say Jane because she'll forgive me.
Okay, very good.
By the late 1970s, Sally Field had moved far beyond just surviving. She was finally being recognized for her talent. Her breakthrough came with the 1976 TV movie Sybil, where she played a woman living with multiple personalities. The performance won her an Emmy and gave her a chance to dig into roles that reflected some of the complexity she carried inside. Just a few years later, she starred in Norma Ray, playing a factory worker who becomes a union activist. The role earned her an Academy Award and cemented her place as a serious actress. Even with that success, the industry was still a tough place for women. Hollywood in the 1970s largely revolved around male-centered stories, while actresses over 30 often found their opportunities shrinking. Sally took what she could, from romantic comedies like Smokey and the Bandit to more ambitious parts when they came along. In interviews, she's spoken candidly about the lack of strong roles for women at the time, as well as the inequities she faced, pay gaps, limited chances, and uncomfortable situations with men in power. Despite it all, she kept pushing forward, determined to prove she was more than the roles the system tried to confine her to. In 1976, Sally Field met Burt Reynolds, and for a while, they were Hollywood's favorite couple. Their chemistry in Smokey and the Bandit was undeniable, but behind the scenes, the relationship was difficult. Burt's charm came with control and jealousy, and Sally often felt her ambitions weren't supported. When she won her second Oscar in 1984 for Places in the Heart, Burt didn't even attend the ceremony. Their breakup in 1982 was painful, and for years he spoke publicly about her in ways she later described as hurtful. In her memoir, she explained that while she loved him, the relationship became something she needed to walk away from. Her personal challenges didn't end there. Old wounds from her childhood lingered, showing up in struggles with intimacy, disordered eating, and periods of depression. She raised 3 sons largely on her own after her second divorce in 1994, facing the ups and downs of single parenthood. A 1988 plane crash in Aspen left her with minor injuries but a lasting fear.
Have you learned about yourself and men?
Not much. I really don't. I have not.
Still, she kept working. Films like Steel Magnolias, 1989, Mrs. Doubtfire, 1993, and Forrest Gump, 1994, highlighted her warmth, though they often typecast her as the mom. By her late 40s, she was already being offered maternal roles for actors nearly her age, a reminder of how quickly Hollywood sidelines women. In her memoir, she also spoke about facing inappropriate advances from men in power, another harsh reality of the industry. By the middle of her career, Sally Field had reached the kind of success most actors only dream of: 2 Oscars on the shelf and a long list of admired performances. But away from the spotlight, she was still carrying old pain. Writing her memoir took her 7 years, a process she later said helped her make peace with her past and even forgive her mother. In interviews, she's joked that pain can be useful for an actor, but she also admitted it takes a toll on the person behind the roles. As the 1990s came to a close, the offers began to slow, something she's spoken about with honesty. Hollywood has never been kind to women as they age, and for Sally, it meant stepping back and reflecting on what her life had been outside of film sets and award shows. That time gave her a chance to look inward, to come to terms with the challenges she'd survived and the strength it had taken to keep moving forward. By the time Sally Field reached her 50s, she felt the shift that so many actresses talk about. The big roles stop coming, and suddenly, you're only offered parts as someone's mom or quirky relative. After Forrest Gump, those were the kinds of characters she kept being asked to play, roles that highlighted her warmth but didn't always let her show the full range of what she could do. "Why am I always the mother?" she asked in a 2016 NPR interview, voicing what many women in the industry feel once they're past a certain age. She's spoken openly about how discouraging it can be. On Julia Louis-Dreyfus's 2024 podcast, Wiser Than Me, Sally admitted that Hollywood's ageism isn't subtle, it's glaring. There are so few real stories written about women of any age, but certainly as you get older, she said. At 78, her voice still carried the weight of that truth. Society often treats aging, especially for women, as something to hide rather than embrace. For Sally, who had already fought through doubts and typecasting earlier in her career, ageism was just another battle, one that couldn't be outworked, only endured with honesty and persistence. In 2012, Sally Field reminded audiences of her dramatic power with her Emmy-nominated turn as Mary Todd Lincoln in Lincoln. The role demanded nuance and strength, and she delivered. But after that, the opportunities narrowed again. In The Amazing Spider-Man, she played Aunt May, a supportive figure rather than a lead. "I'm grateful," she told Time, "but it's crumbs when you crave the feast." There were bright spots, like the 2016 comedy Hello, My Name is Doris, which earned her a Critics' Choice nomination for playing a woman finding unexpected romance later in life. Still, she pointed out that the humor often came from her age rather than her character's complexity.
That he had done something and he felt terrible and he wanted her forgiveness. And she said something pretty awful, pretty graphic that he had said, which went, whoa, for me to hear that and to know that that was true.
The 2020s brought new challenges. During the COVID lockdowns, she admitted to Variety that she felt a low-level depression, missing the rhythm of work and the escape of a set. Roles became less frequent, though she joined Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, and Rita Moreno in 2023's 80 for Brady, a light-hearted ensemble film that celebrated women embracing later chapters of life. That same year, she received the SAG Life Achievement Award, a recognition of her long and layered career. Yet, as she said on a podcast, most women her age in Hollywood aren't celebrated. They're overlooked. At 78, Sally Field has chosen to age on her own terms. She's let her hair go gray, skipped Botox and fillers, and appeared on red carpets looking radiant, even as online critics sometimes dismissed her with ageist remarks. She's been clear about where she stands. No apologies, no disguises. What frustrates her most is how few stories Hollywood tells about older women living full, complicated lives. "There are so many other stories," she told Julia Louis-Dreyfus, "but they're ignored." Her activism has often filled the space left by scarce roles. She joined Jane Fonda at climate protests, once even getting arrested, and has been outspoken about reproductive rights, drawing on her own painful experience as a teenager. At the same time, she admits that energy fades with age. These days, her greatest joy is her 5 grandchildren, though she's also candid about the loneliness that can come with grown children in quieter homes. "You're not the center anymore," she told AIRP, a reflection more tender than bitter. Sally's career has shown resilience, honesty, and courage. Even when Hollywood's mirror suggested her time was past, she's kept proving there's more to tell, both in her work and in her life. Health doesn't wait for awards, and in 2005, Sally Field got a stark reminder. At 59, after Legally Blonde 2, a doctor told her she had osteoporosis. "It was like the floor dropped out from under me," she shared on The Doctors in 2009. It's a silent condition that weakens bones, making everyday movements risky. It ran in her family. Both her mother and grandmother had it, and Sally's own profile didn't help. Petite, Caucasian, postmenopausal. She'd first noticed warning signs in her late 40s with osteopenia, and for a while, vitamins, calcium, and regular walks seemed enough. But by her 60s, genetics caught up. "I did everything right," she told Ability magazine. Yet here it is. Her treatment is steady, monthly Beniva, a bisphosphonate that helps slow bone loss and rebuild density. She follows a routine of leafy greens, exercise, and plenty of sleep, all while staying alert to the risks. One slip could mean serious injury. Even with precautions, she admits there's a quiet anxiety in every step, a reminder that taking care of her body is just as important as any role she's played on screen. For Sally Field, osteoporosis isn't just a medical fact, it's a daily reality. At 78, she still feels the strain in her back, sometimes limiting what she can do on set, like an 80 for Brady. Since 2006, she's used her experience to help others through her Rally with Sally campaign, partnering with Roche and GSK to promote screenings, hotlines, and multilingual resources. "Get tested at 60, she urges. "It's treatable, if you catch it." Advocacy has become a source of purpose, though the condition itself is humbling. In 2007, while lobbying on Capitol Hill, she tearfully shared how fragile bones can be. "I broke a rib sneezing. Imagine that at your age?" Even when public ads sparked criticism, she stood firm. "I can't reverse my own damage, but awareness can help others," she said. Some days, fear of falling keeps her homebound, a reminder of the limits age and osteoporosis impose. Still, she persists, blogging, connecting with women, and encouraging healthy habits. "Bone health is whole health," she notes. For Sally, it's about facing vulnerability honestly while continuing to show up, even when life reminds her of its fragility. At 78, Sally Field's life at home in Pacific Palisades feels warm and balanced. The walls are filled with art she loves. Her dog Dash is usually nearby, and there are scripts around that feel less like work and more like familiar company. Things have slowed down compared to her busier years. She's been divorced twice, and her 3 sons, Peter, Eli, and Sam, are focused on their own families now. She really enjoys being a grandmother, though, and has said that it's a special relationship you kind of grow into. She has 5 grandkids, and while a lot of their time together happens on Zoom rather than in person, they still bring her a lot of joy. Work is still part of her life, but she's realistic about how Hollywood changes with age. In 2023, she received the SAG Life Achievement Award, which marked 6 decades of work, though she sometimes feels those lifetime honors are more about looking back than looking forward. She's found good opportunities in TV with projects like Maniac, 2018, and Dispatches from Elsewhere, 2020, while film roles are a little rarer these days. Still, when she shows up on red carpets, she looks confident and content, not letting the occasional online comment bother her. She has a lighthearted way of brushing that off, often joking that there's no reason to apologize for getting older. Like most people her age, she does have to manage her health. Osteoporosis and some lasting effects from COVID sometimes slow her down, but she stays active and keeps moving forward. The more personal parts of her life, including old relationships, feel settled now. In her memoir, In Pieces, she wrote about how love and letting go sometimes have to coexist, and it seems like she's reached a place where she can just live on her own terms, with fewer battles and more peace. Sally Field's activism remains a central part of her life. In 2024, she joined rallies supporting Kamala Harris and marched for abortion rights. "I've lived the bans," she says, her voice steady. But age and past traumas remind her of limits. Aches from a decades-old plane crash flare in the rain, and memories of abuse sometimes return on quiet nights. Friends like Jane Fonda offer support, though she candidly told AARP, "Aging's a crock of shame we buy into." There's a bittersweet edge to her reflection. She wonders about the roles she might have had, or the moments that slipped away, but she also recognizes the life she's built. At 78, she's alive, vibrant, and unapologetic, even as Hollywood's disregard for older women stings. Her story is one of resilience, endurance, and honesty, a life shaped by triumphs and losses, but defined by a refusal to fade quietly. Sally Field, at 78, isn't just a story of struggle. She's a survivor whose experiences teach us about resilience. From childhood abuse to the challenges of ageism and osteoporosis, she's faced more than most and still keeps going. Hollywood may overlook women like her, but her spirit hasn't dimmed. Celebrate her by revisiting her films, reading In Pieces, or sharing her story. What do you think about this story? Drop it in the comments. Also, if this story has rewired the way you see celebrity headlines, then please hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and remember, like Sally, keep moving forward even when the path gets hard.